News this evening: anger, frustration, a plea for help. We've heard it all and shared with you many times. A year after notifications first went out that the US Postal Service now designates several Bryan-College Station apartments as student housing, confusion still plagues many residents. Morgan Rydell has the story.
Residents say they're confused on how to get their mail and why the U.S. Postal Service is telling them they live in student housing. Complexes say it's now impacting their ability to lease. Elisa Isagari, the assistant manager here at The Vibe, says just last week, a group of prospective residents stopped by to check out a unit. But when they realized the complex doesn't get mail service, they left.
Oh, everybody's frustrated, everybody's upset.
It's part of a shift by the Postal Service to eliminate individual delivery at what they've deemed student housing.
We do need everybody's help to try to fight this because it's very urgent.
I reached out to the U.S. Postal Service Southern Area Corporate Communications Wednesday with three specific questions we and residents say they want answers to. First, a complete list of apartment complexes in Bryan-College Station identified as student housing. Second, if residents of those apartments can pick up their mail at the post office. And lastly, how they're identifying these complexes as student housing. We've been given this answer in the past. Student housing was defined as multiple rooms connected to a common area. I'm pressing for a different response because obviously that's every apartment. USPS hasn't said how they're identifying student populations. In fact, in the numerous stories we've done since residents and managers brought this change to our attention, we haven't met a student yet.
All of a sudden, after all these decades, that the post office can unilaterally decide on their own that this is student housing is beyond belief.
69-year-old Steve Smith saw my story about mail delivery on Wednesday. He's a former professor and has been in the same apartment for almost 40 years. But now, his apartment is labeled student housing, and USPS isn't delivering mail to him anymore.
We don't just have students here. I mean, we have families, we have retirees like myself, and it's just an ordinary kind of apartment complex. And that's how it's been for the 38 years I have lived here. And all of a sudden I found out I'm practically living in a dorm, and like nothing has changed except what the post office didn't want to have to deliver to each individual box.
I asked USPS those three questions on Wednesday, followed up again on Thursday and Friday morning. This afternoon, I finally heard back. They're working on the request, but don't know when they'd have answers for taxpayers. In College Station, Morgan Rydell, News 3.